Can you hear that?
I can hear that as well, but you sound like you got a pillowcase over your head.
I don't know. It sounds
Probably
I don't know why it sounds like that. It sounds fine on my end.
like you're in a barrel. It sounds really. Sorry, I had to get my professional rig on here.
Oh no, you're fine.
Yeah, it sounds. Did you listen to the audio from last week?
I haven't even gotten around to it yet. No.
What have you been doing?
Yeah, busy as a one-armed paper hanger, as my dad likes to say. I got my shit all maxed up. I don't know what the problem is. Let's see if I can figure something out. Maybe crank up some of the, not the bass. I wouldn't do what I want to crank up. Crank that down.
What'd you change? Because it used to be all right. What'd you change?
I didn't change anything. That's the problem.
Oh, that's worse. That's my favorite.
Like, that's why it bugs me.
I got it.
Like, that makes it a equipment problem, not a settings problem. I mean, I can pull my spit guard off. I don't know if that made any difference.
No.
Yeah, I even turned up my treble and everything on my stuff.
It sounds like you have another. You don't have another microphone or something hooked around, do you? I had like.
Oh, maybe that's
because I had that problem. And no.
I just saw that I had desktop audio on.
It does actually sound a little bit.
Oh, maybe that was it.
I had going on last week, and I had something weird, and it ended up like it was picking up my headset, like my Bluetooth headset that was sitting on the desk.
Oh.
And it sounded really weird. What have you been doing anyway? Selling train trips?
I have been selling a ton of train trips, man.
I just talked to a guy today who was talking about going on a train trip. But he was talking about Florida. Like,
yeah, I just sent off a quote for a very cool one out of the guy he's actually leaving from Richmond, Virginia, but I've also quoted it for people going out of Florida, going to Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah.
On the train, and then you have like a whole bunch of tours and stuff associated with, because Savannah, Georgia would be a very cool place. I have not ever been, and it's one of the places. And I've even done the road trips like to Florida and stuff, and I've never gone through Savannah. And I gotta admit, it kind of feels like a failure. Do what?
So I'm sure. I don't know if I've been there or not. I probably have. I drove a truck for 9 years or something. So
it got really famous and popular after that movie, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Yeah,
everybody wanted to go to Savannah. I never saw that movie either. I heard it was really good though.
I don't. Sorry, when cameras going.
You don't.
I don't really watch a lot of movies.
Oh yeah, no, the theater major, so I watch a ton of movies. I don't watch many new movies though. Pretty much anything after 2015. Not everything after 2015.
Anything after Fast Times at Ridgemont High, like that's the pinnacle.
That's the pinnacle for you. Was it Phoebe Cates? You're like, I can't miss Phoebe Cates.
I just saw that. I just saw some article about her or something the other day, and I was like, oh, Phoebe. We saw it. I remember we saw that shit at the theater too, and it was like,
whoa. Right, yeah. No, well, I appreciate the move. That was a little bit. I was a little bit young. I think that movie came out in like '82.
Right.
And yeah, I was 5. So,
I was class of '83. So yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. So yeah, I mean, much more appropriate for you than for me. But yeah, I did that sort of trend, that sort of me wanting to pay attention to that sort of stuff kind of started with Kelly Kapowski and Saved by the Bell in the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, that's funny.
And yeah, she's still hot. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
Phoebe's probably doing all right for her age as well. That would be my guess. You don't see her very often anymore.
right. No, I don't know. I don't remember. I read the article. It was something talking about her, but like it's funny because my grandson's 17. I was like, just show him this movie.
Let me show you this movie.
Show you this movie, bro. This is what shit used to be like in the 80s.
Right. I just finished watching the television show that was on HBO probably 15 years ago, 10 years ago. No, it was more like 15. I think it's 2008. And it's called Rome. And
Rome.
Yeah, and it's basically the story of Caesar, right? Like Julius Caesar.
Right.
But it's obviously much more detailed than like the Shakespeare play Julius Caesar. You know, it's a much more comprehensive look at the time and the politics going on. And I mean, dude, it had an amazing cast, right? For starters, I mean, it had an amazing cast, and it goes all the way through from Caesar in Gaul, right after he defeated Vercingetorix, and then it goes all the way through till the end when Octavian becomes Caesar Augustus. Talks about all the wars,
Nice.
political infighting.
It was a TV show?
Yeah, an HBO television show. It only lasted for 2 seasons. Yeah, it's probably a total of 25 episodes, maybe 22 episodes, something like that. All of them are an hour long. If you like shows like Braveheart with Mel Gibson, which is a complete historical travesty as far as accuracy, but it's a good movie. If you like that kind of movie, you'd like Rome. If you have Max, it's on the subscription.
I don't know. I don't watch TV. Like I just don't watch TV anymore.
Yeah,
I don't watch TV. I don't watch hardly any movies. I just got tired of all the political shit they put in there. And
that's why I watch the old stuff.
Yeah, it was in there. It was in there, not as strong. They were edging it in the whole time,
Yeah, well, that's kind of because I watch a YouTuber. His name's The Critical Drinker, and he does movie critiques and television show critiques and stuff like that. And he very much hates that sort of stuff as well, right?
Problem is, it's not that I hate it as much as I can't not see it. That's the problem. Like I can't overlook it. Yeah, because I'm so hyper trained on it. It's like once you see it, it's like and you go into it, and there's so many people that don't see it, and like my wife, they were watching when our grandkids were little. They used to watch. They come over and she's like, "You guys want to watch Zootopia?" I was like, first of all, no, because it's a freaking communist movie. And she's like, I go, it's about communism, it's socialism. It's like, and she's like, no, it's not. I said, well, first of all, Utopia is a communist theme. Like that's their whole dream is Utopia, and that's why they will do it. I go, that's where that's from. And I said, and I go, it's an anti-cop movie and it's anti-whatever. She's like, no, and I was like, I watched it one time. I was like, bleh. And then, so then they came over and she's watching it with them. And then she goes, she's probably halfway through and she just looked at me. She goes, like, you ruin everything for me. I'm like, sorry, but I can't not see it. So it's like, I see that stuff and I don't
get it because I see it too. Right. I mean, and here's the one thing, and it's also not, we like to glorify, I use the word glorify a little loosely here, but we like to glorify the movies and shows that we used to watch in the 80s and the 70s and the 90s.
Right.
and that type of messaging wasn't there, right?
Right.
And all you got to do is go back and watch it.
Go back and
I
watch it there.
promise you, it
Yeah.
was there, right?
Yeah.
I watched an episode. I love the television show Night Court back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, you should watch
Loved that show. Night Court was hilarious. I rewatched almost the entire series. Still hilarious. But there is all kinds of that messaging in that show.
Right.
All kinds of it, right?
Right.
But the difference is, quite honestly, the difference is the writers were just better back then.
True.
Yes, they could put that kind of messaging into the show and not have it so ham-fisted down.
No, I agree. I think and it's like most of the time, it's like, for an example, like if they want to have a gay couple in there, like, okay, but now, like, then they write it in and it was no big deal, and they bring it into the show. Now it's like you're talking about, a car, changing the oil in the car. Oh, let's have two gay guys kiss right here.
Yeah, exactly. It
makes sense.
It makes zero sense, but yeah, I mean, I see that all. I mean, like, here's another good example, like the movie $1 Million Baby. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was a mid 2000s movie. Clint Eastwood wrote I think he wrote it. He definitely directed it. It won, or it was at least nominated for Best Picture, and it was a really good movie, right?
Right.
But at the end of it, it was big. Basically a huge, like the crux of the movie revolved around euthanasia. Of the human, assisted suicide. And I shouldn't say that on. Sorry. Yeah, you're not
assisted unaliving.
So, but that's what the movie that theme was in that movie. But that movie was fantastic, right? And I don't necessarily mind the topics being brought up in a way that makes me think about those sorts of issues, right? I mean, it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I want you to make me think about the issue, not preach to me what the answer is on the issue.
Predetermine everything.
Yeah. If you want to present the issue in a way that makes me think or reconsider, my position on it, that's fine. I'm probably not going to change my mind, but at least you've given me something to think about,
right.
But yeah, so I spend most of my time, if I'm going to be watching shows and movies, they're usually reruns or the 10,000th time I've watched a movie. There's still nothing wrong with watching Lord of the Rings again, all 3 movies in extended edition versions, and spending 16 hours. They're so long.
Yeah, right.
So here we are, Livin Life N Style business
chilling.
Roundtable. Yeah. Got Mike from Summit Lending joining us today. We'll have to talk off air about it was yesterday.
Other stuff.
Yeah, other stuff. But beyond that, we're here to do a weekly business roundtable. So I've got the question of the day, and this is a question more for me because I'm about to start doing this, and
it better be easy.
And it doesn't necessarily apply to you, I don't think, but you probably have some insight, and
I definitely have an opinion.
I'm sure you have an opinion. You probably even have some insight, because what the question is how are you approaching talent acquisition and retention in a competitive job market, especially for specialized roles? So the reason I picked this question for question of the day is that I am going to be looking and even looking to get started on finding additional salespeople for my travel agency. Which
Yeah.
you're probably not doing the hiring with Summit Lending, but
No, I'm actually we do look for. We have a program where we a referral program um, to get other loan officers and stuff to come over to the company.
yeah,
Um, it's hard because I mean I guess in your deal are you looking for experienced travel agent people or I don't
I'll take newbies, man. I don't.
right
I'm just looking. I get like literally so busy with the number of leads I'm getting on these Amtrak vacations. Like there are so many. I could have a whole team of agents.
so what do you're because you're getting leads from all those companies so what do you they're just like warm leads basically someone
Yeah,
fill out a form that said hey I want to go on a cruise or whatever
yeah,
and what do I
exactly.
and fill me out once you get a VA. I got a good virtual assistant in Vietnam, no, in Philippines. Um, she works for $8 an hour, and she's awesome. Like she bang out 95 calls a day. For me, I used to use her all the time. People, I bet she called 1,200 people for me, and I only had two that
Yeah,
that caught on that she wasn't here.
no,
And that's because one of them was I had her scheduling coffees for me, coffee appointments with real estate agents. So I had a specific list that I paid money to have drafted to with specific parameters of the agents that I wanted, right? Not just a list of agents, but specific. I wanted agents who were closing buyers side. They have buyers because that's what I need is buyers.
right,
So I had them the agents in the last 12 months who had closed like 8 or more buy side transactions, right? So this is someone who's actively doing deals and um, and I had this, so I had a script and I had her cold calling people and setting appointments for me to coffee shops or whatever. So I plotted it out because Kansas City's so weird. You basically have kind of 4 quadrants, or maybe even 5 if you want to count downtown. If you do
yeah,
downtown is one, then you got east, you got Overland Park and Olathe, then you got Gladstone and all that stuff, Liberty and all that. So
yeah,
um,
and then the dot.
the dot, I didn't go there. So then the but that's kind of in the eastern or western side, that kind
Yeah,
of like over there. But anyway, so I had her doing that, and the only time that I had an issue, I don't remember what the other one was, but the main one was she set me up with Starbucks in Lee
right.
Summit, and there's, I don't know how many of those there are, but the one she booked us to meet at was inside the Hy-Vee on 291, right? So it was like,
Oh,
I
I
was like,
remember you telling this
when I
story.
got the address, I'm like, what the hell? Like, that's Hy-Vee, and I didn't know there was and I didn't even know there was one in there. So when I met with the agent, she's like, your girl's not from here, is she? I was like, not exactly.
Yeah,
Here, define here, like, so yeah. And she's like, uh, but other than that, for the most part, like her accent was, can't tell she had an accent at all, and she would bang out like nine. I give her a list. She was banging out. I tracked her because we had um, software that was called like phone burner. So you get the software and you plug all the names and numbers in the phone burner and put your headset on.
power dialer.
Bam, 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 bam.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Matter of fact, my old system that I'm transitioning away from has a power dialer that I created in it, and I loved it, but I was paying too much for that. That phone burner.
Yeah, I paid a lot for that too. And but
Yeah,
but like I said, she was blasting out 85 to 95 calls per day, and I could listen in. I knew she was calling them because I was getting feedback, and salespeople don't like to be sold to.
right.
So and uh, I get a lot pissed off that you called them or whatever. I was like,
Oh, yeah. Well,
why are you getting mad, bro? Like that's what you guys. You go to seminars. You pay some guy $1,000 to have a seminar to tell you how to call people, and then you don't do it.
I'd have to
Get
think
mad
about
at me
how
because I do it.
I'd have to think about how to set up, because I was just looking for actual agents. So, a person to be it. They would have their own leads, and they'd call their own leads, and they would make their own sales. And
Yeah. Well, what I would use it for is like, um, I would use it to maybe not for that because,
you can't
like
pay
I
them
said,
on commission.
you
They
could
won't.
pay this girl $8 an hour, and she's the high end of virtual assistants in the
Right.
Philippines. So like that's the high end. You can get it for cheaper, but my big deal was I wanted someone who would do it and someone who had a good,
Sounded American.
didn't sound like when I'm trying to call
Yeah.
someone else trying to call Comcast. So, but I would use it to maybe have her weed through them, or like, because if you're getting 100 leads, how many of them are any good? How many of them are legit leads? How many of them are just people who
I talked to about 50% of the
50?
leads I
Yeah.
get. Talk
So
to them.
right. So like you could figure out a way to get her to just to weed out those 50%. So now
Right.
you don't have nearly as many, or something of or do some administrative stuff that you can't do that's like the $8 an hour stuff. Like there's something that you're doing whatever that you could have her do or have somebody else do.
Yeah. I mean, I would have to set it. I think I could probably have it set in a way where she did the phone call, verified the lead information about like what trip
Yeah.
they take, date, who's going, like a basic checklist of information that I need to do the quote, and then it can be sent over to me to,
Yep.
for me to put the quote together, and then I could just set the follow-ups after that.
Because what I've found is like in the mortgage business. So when I was in the mortgage business 15 years ago, god dang, it was a long time ago, but 20 years ago actually. So back then you could hire people 1099, and it was kind of like if you could fog a mirror, you could get in. Like I'll hire you,
Yeah.
talk to you, see if you can hold a conversation, and then but I'll tell you like this is what I need you to do, and this is how you do it, and you can make big money if you do this. But the amount of people that actually did it would actually, because it is like my job is a high stress job, and
Right.
there's a lot of it's a high energy job, it's a high stress job, and if you're not someone who can get rid of that stress or take it like me, hold it all in and hide it,
Deep down.
tamp that shit down where it belongs, compartmentalize all that stuff next to my childhood trauma.
Right.
So if you but some people can't do that, and some people just
Right.
freak out over it. And so what I found was that it's sometimes it's better to hire someone to do that, just that crappy stuff, and let you sell, because you can't teach someone to sell, and you can't. So, and also you can't teach them. And if you hire them as like independent contractor, 1099, then you can't even tell them what to do. Like you can't tell them when to work. You can't tell them.
No, yeah, no, you have zero control over it.
Can't do any of that stuff. So you violate the 1099 thing, and now they're really an employee, and you should have whatever. And one of them gets pissed, and they'll say, "No, he told me I had to work from blah 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 blah." And next thing you know, you got to pay unemployment claim or something on them. So that's the way what I would do. Like we use a lot of times loan. We call them LOAs, a loan officer assistant. So we'll bring someone in. I had a girl that worked for me for a while, and she was a processor before, and I brought her over as an LOA, and I could gather all the stuff, and I could get everything going and put the deal together, and I know what's going to happen. And then, but I hate all the busy work shit, and I hate all the like, oh, I need a pay stub from whatever, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Right? I'm terrible at that part. And so, and that's the first step, is admitting it.
Oh,
But,
well, yeah.
so,
no, I mean that's. I mean,
so I hand it over to somebody else. I hand it over to her and say like, hey, your job is to put this shit together, and the illusion that we're supposed to come to together is that I know what I'm doing. That's what we're trying to. So you guys put it together, get it over to the underwriter. The least amount of times that they see it is the best. So you do all the stuff I'm supposed to be doing up front. Everything I forget, you're covering my ass, all that stuff. So it works better. It's easier to find someone to do that that'll work for an hourly rate than it is to try to take someone and incentivize them with more money, bigger pay on a commission basis, unless they're already a travel agent doing someone else. And then I mean, I could see in that business, one, there's not a whole lot of them, and two, there's going to be more of them who are like you, who are working at home, doing, or working on their own. They don't want to go work for anybody else. They may cut the. Why would I cut? Why would I give you half my commission when I can just figure out a way to get a hold of
more of it?
Amtrak.
I get that. The way it's structured for us, though, like especially with these Amtrak leads, like the very first time you get them on the phone is like, I would hate the idea of some virtual assistant making that first contact with somebody, because usually I do like almost all of my relationship establishment with them. If I get them on the phone, it's like I'm already trying to make sure that they like me, type of thing, as opposed to stringing them along with an extra step with a different person.
True, but if that encounter is like professional and they see like, hey, I'm calling from Eric's office and I just want to make sure I'm calling from Eric's travel agency. I just want to make sure we got the right info here before we get it over to get a quote. I don't want to waste your time. I'm trying to be respectful. You could make it like come to them and say like, hey, because if it comes across as professional and like we're trying to we want to make sure we give you good information and not just start hammering you with what are you going to do, where are you going to go, how many people you could make a checklist and conversation thing to say like, hey, this is what we're trying to do, and Eric will be back with you within the next day.
I wonder if they can transfer the call to me if they actually got somebody on the line.
Yeah, if you I don't remember what she was using. Zoom, what's the other one? What's the old one everybody used to use? Not Zoom, but like
GoToMeeting.
Skype. I think she had Skype, and then there was a way to do it. Or you have a VoIP, or you just use an internet phone anyway?
I'm using Google Voice.
You should probably do that. Like there's probably something in there.
Yeah, well, I could add extra lines and have them, be able to do transfers within the system.
If it got to be a decent deal, like you could even get a Grasshopper. Grasshopper has that, or I don't know the other one, but there's something like that, right? Where she's got it there.
Right. So maybe there is something you can do that way. Because if they got him on the phone and she was like, okay, hey, let me check
it's a hot deal
information, and like, do you have time to talk about it now? Send them over. No.
That girl that I used, like I would say, I want you to call between these hours, right? This time and this time, and I would have. I don't remember like phone burner. I don't recommend phone burner for that situation because it's expensive, but it's a couple $100 a month. But for what I was doing, it worked because, and I only had it for I only had 1,200 people, so I had it blasting through it. It wasn't that long of a time frame, but probably 3 months. But you say, I want you to call between this time and this time, and then shoot me an email when you're starting. And so I could be ready. That way, if you have anything going on, you could shoot them over to me. Or you could have Skype or whatever online where she could be on Skype and you could be on Skype and she could say like, hey, I've got a live one. Can you take this call and send it over? I
Yeah,
don't
I
think
mean,
we
if
did
there's a
that.
way to make the logistics work, that would definitely be. I mean, it would
Mine,
free you
I
up a lot
had
of
my
time in
phone
making phone
system.
calls for sure.
My phone system that I had at the time had a deal where you could add the um, whatever the hell you call it, but you could add, like, you could dial on your laptop. You use your laptop as a phone, so like a desktop
Yeah,
phone, whatever they called it.
yeah,
I
I
don't.
can do that with voice. I can do that with Google Voice. I can talk right through
She could
the
probably
camera.
do the same thing. She downloaded on her. That's what I had her do. I had her download that program on her laptop, and then she used that to dial. So she was calling from an 816 phone number, which came into my back line at the time. It was tied into my phone system,
Right.
and then so uh, people would call back. They would call on that back line, and we would know. Like, they would then answer the phone, and then they would call, she would call back. People would call back, and we could answer the phone, or she could answer the phone. So it was, we kind of did that. It was kind of cool.
Yeah. No, that. I
We
mean,
messed up at first because we had like, so the caller ID. I wanted the caller ID to say a certain thing, and like, I think I had to say my main number. But where we screwed up was we didn't take into account that nobody answers the phone.
right.
See, I beat myself right there. So nobody answered their phone, and so what would happen was she would call, and then they didn't answer. Then they would call back, right? And so then they're calling, and they're calling my number, and then I'm like, oh shit, who is this? I don't know what this is. Why'd you call me? Who just called me? I don't know.
Yeah.
And so we switched that to where it was her number direct, and then came right back to her. So they turned around and called back. I was dealing with real estate agents, and
Yeah. I
they are
mean, there's maybe
notorious
some
for not
differences
answering.
between what you do and what I do, and I mean, I can't give. I can't. I'd have to. I'd have to come up with a method of getting the information. Like, I can't let her have access to my portal.
Right.
Because it would give access to all kinds of other stuff that
Like
I
that, is that
can't.
like the portal you have with Carnival or whatever? Is that what you mean?
No,
Like,
no, no. Like the actual the the system that I get from the host agency that manages all my customer contacts and payment methods
see
and
if they got a. Can you get
addresses
like,
and stuff like
some of
that.
them have an assistant? You can add another user or something.
No, I can, but no, but that's why I have. That's the way it's set up. Is that's why I hire other agents, because then they would have each agent would be responsible for their collection of leads,
Right.
information, therein. At the end of the day, I would still be responsible, um, but as an agent, they'd go through all of the training and stuff to use the system, verifications, and all that stuff. So I mean, it
That's
would be
not
a
boring.
situation. Yeah, it would be a situation where I'd have to like send a person a list of phone numbers and names or something, and then I'd have
Spreadsheet.
to, yeah, and then I'd have to
Yeah.
pull that
Uh,
into the system. And I don't know what an efficient way of doing
your
this
work.
would be.
But that, I mean, so either way, like, you could hire someone to at a much less cost to hire someone. Even if she didn't do that, she could do something, or take some
Oh,
other task off your plate.
oh yeah. I mean, and maybe it's a situation where I take I make the first set of calls to the new leads, and then once I've gone through them, you know, hand them over to the assistant to do the follow up calls. Because usually, if you don't get a hold of somebody in like that first day of calls, maybe second day of calls, chances are you're not going to hear from them at all.
Yeah, yeah, it's the same way in our business, right? So like, if you buy leads, like, I don't buy leads. I've never
Right.
bought. I not in the mortgage business, and I worked for an insurance company years ago, and they used to get those leads, and those
Yeah.
things were absolute garbage, and they are supposed to be exclusive leads, like, we gotta do whatever. But
Right.
what they what you figure when you're doing it first, you're like, oh cool, I'll get these exclusive leads. But what they don't figure out is when they send me Eric as an exclusive lead, Eric filled it out on 3 different damn websites, and they're all 3 exclusive leads, and they're going whatever. And you call people, and if you didn't call right then, barely ever would get through. And and then like I had one of my favorite ones was like I called, thing came over, I hit the button, I called it. Guy's like, God, I just freaking hit send. Like,
Right. Oh yeah. I've
like,
had a few of those. Like,
and
my
it's
goodness, how fast do you guys get this information?
right.
I mean,
Like
with
they have the internet now, bro. But
well, with our system, they don't necessarily have to fill out a form. It captures their information just from being on our website.
right,
You know,
yeah.
they click through a few things. Yeah, they, if they become a member or whatever to the Avoya website, they get all, they immediately show up. It's like super fast. But yeah, they're like, I didn't even fill out a form. I'm like, yeah, it works
We
that
don't
way.
need that shit.
Yeah, yeah, I don't need
I already know you're trying to. Alexa told me.
it's like, have you seen the
Yeah,
little sign at the bottom that says cookies?
yeah.
Let me explain to you how these work.
It's ridiculous. It is. I mean, it's. But see, I don't like all of that. I'm an old school. I'm an old Gen Xer guy. I don't like any of that shit. I don't like it. I actually had a really good app on my phone. I was talking about last week with Sandy, like the
Right.
M1, the AI app. It was like a receptionist, and it worked really well, but I couldn't
Yeah.
turn it off. Like I don't want to record when I'm talking to you. I call you and talking shit. I don't want all that recorded, right?
Right.
God's sake, you know.
And
There's
never turning it
reasons I'll
all
never.
and
There's
never
reasons
turning
I'll
it all
never
over
be
the
a
Langley
politician.
for
Right?
you.
There's
Like,
reason like I'll never run for office.
oh, believe, yeah. I did that once.
All of our shit wasn't uh, recorded back then, but I'm
I've
sure
got
there are photos.
I've got 10 more years of content, for people to snoop on,
Oh,
since the last time I ran for office. I'm not ever doing
right.
that again. Like, no. I've only gotten worse, people.
I was on the planning and zoning board in a little town not far from you, and they for I
Yeah.
don't know quite a few years, and
Uh,
just that alone was like ridiculous.
I was elected alderman. I got on the local news. Yeah,
For
here
where? For
in
Green
Kansas
Valley?
City. No, 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 Raytown.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was on the news for. No, it was crazy because I said I just asked a simple question of the police chief or whoever the representative of the police was when we were having this little meeting, and I asked them. I said, "Is it possible that we could declare Walmart a public nuisance since since so much of our police issues stem from the Walmart here in town? It seems like they might be getting an inordinate amount of police attention."
And I'm sure they're
And
used to that, and they would
holy
probably.
hell, man.
Yeah.
Did it hit the fan? I had Fox 4 at my work asking to interview me about it. I had union representatives show up at my office to want to talk to me about, you know, the evils and horrors of Walmart. And I'm like, people,
They've been trying to unionize Walmart forever.
oh, I know. And I'm like, look, man, I'm not a Walmart hater. I'm just trying to get some answers, so I can see what avenues we have to address a problem in our city. I'm not interested in being your Walmart torchbearer.
You're anti-Walmart torchbearer, and
Yeah.
they, yeah. Well, and now, like I know I've got a buddy who's a great town cop, and like they pay overtime, really
Oh yeah.
good money to go be at
And
the
at
Walmart.
the Walmart. Oh yeah. And that was one of the things is why it didn't move forward. They're like, look, most of the police attention that police presence, police attention that goes on at Walmart is already paid for by Walmart.
Right.
So any additional police activity around the Walmart is really no different than any other part of town. Like they're not using up additional services because they're paying for the extra services that they're getting. And so it was like a dead issue. But
Send them a
all I
bill.
think that's the question, because I didn't know that was the case, that it wasn't an inordinate amount of attention. It's like, hey, you ask a simple question and it all blew up.
Yeah.
And then I got nominated to be on the State Board of Education,
Okay.
and had to go down and meet grimy Eric Greitens as governor. And
Right.
yeah, that was I was like, oh, dude, this is just no. I can't be a part of this anymore. That was the end of my political
Well, I
career.
mean, if you, like most of those things, people come to you and go, "Hey, you should be on this board," and then I usually tell them like, "You think you want me on that board? Like you know, you think because." First of all, I'm gonna say the shit, whatever needs to be said. I don't care, and then I'm not voting. Like I was on the planning and zoning board. A friend of mine wanted me to be on the planning and zoning board, and he was like, "Hey, we got an open seat." I really, what he was the chairman of it,
Right.
and uh, I told him at the time, I go, "I would do it because there's things that need to be fixed, and I'm a firm believer in if you don't get involved, then don't bitch about it. I don't want to hear you bitching about it."
Yeah.
And matter of fact, at that time, I wrote an article for the little small time paper, not an article, but like a editor to the editor
Yeah. Okay.
about the amount of people, the percentage of people who voted versus the percentage of people who bitched about stuff. And I was kind of like, hey, and the whole thing about my deal was like, if you don't vote and you don't do whatever, then shut up. Like you don't have a place to say. But so, my point is like my friend calls me up, hey, I got an opening on this board, come on, be on the board. And I told him, he was a good friend of mine for many years, and I said, like I'll do it. I go, but if you think I'm coming in here just to come to vote the way you want me to vote, like, no, I'm gonna say what I think, and I'm gonna vote the way I want to vote, and I'm gonna tell. I don't give a shit who walks in here. Like I don't care, and so I'm gonna vote for what I think is right for the city. And like it was a small town, dude, and it was just like the town was. There was three guys that owned the majority of the real estate and the businesses and stuff in the town,
Sure.
and those guys figured out one of them was a realtor and he owned a bunch of property. And what they figured out was that the town at the time used pyramid zoning. Pyramid zoning is pyramid, right? So what if your property is zoned at the top, which is like industrial, if
Right.
your property is zoned industrial, then you can do anything you want below there. So that's basically how it works. So if it's zoned this, you can do anything that or below.
Oh,
So what these
okay.
guys were doing was going around everything in the freaking town was zoned industrial,
Industrial.
and they're zoning their house, and so you can do whatever. So the town looked like shit, and they didn't have a sign code, and then they just didn't have any of that stuff. So they hired Burns McDonald, and as engineers, they came in and we basically came up and said, "Look, we're going to rezone these properties and basically set it out like a normal city set
Right.
out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have different things. You have a commercial zone, and you have a buffer zone, and you have residential, and all of that. And you would have thought that we were, I don't know. It was just ridiculous. I get a phone call at 6 o'clock in the morning one day, like, hey, don't back out of your driveway because we've had 3 board members who got flat tires because people littered their driveways with tacks, roofing nails and stuff. And it's like, and people call me at home. The guy called me at home like, hey, what do you think about so and so saying this at the meeting? And I was like, what are you trying to frame me or something? Like,
Dude, I had
trying to record this shit. You want to talk to me? You're
right.
talking over there. Like, and so it was.
When I went on to the school board, I mean, I straight told it. Straight told Governor Greitens, I was like, look, man, I'm about as close to an anarchist as you can find that will still participate in helping with government,
Right.
boards and stuff. Like, I'm not, and on top of that, you're putting me on the board of education, and I'm a homeschool parent. It's like you need to know that I am not a fan of the public schooling
Right.
apparatus at this point in time. And then after I got
And
put
you
on
can't
the
demonstrate to me where it's benefited society very much.
board, yeah,
Right.
and I got
You
put on
can't
the board, and
show me.
shit, a month later, Greitens had all of his sex scandal stuff break out and got removed from office, and because I got nominated and put on the board seat during recess, and I hadn't ever gotten a chance to sit for a Senate confirmation. I never got. So once Greitens got booted, all of his recess appointments got booted also. And since I was in the seat and never sat for the Senate confirmation, I can never be nominated to the Board of Education again.
Again?
Yeah, ever. Like, I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm, I won't participate in the state government anymore ever again. Like, it's so shady. It was so I thought Raytown city government was,
it has to be though. I mean,
Raytown, it was, or when I went to the state, it was even worse. I can only imagine what it's like going to the federal level.
Right.
Like,
No, yeah. Like I said, the little town I was in, like it was, and they had a couple of council people. They had a councilwoman there that was, I mean, I would say that she was dumb, but I don't like her enough to give her that much credit. And like some of the stuff, and it's just in the small town politics but it's just like that on a bigger level. The state, it's really not any different, and it just gets bigger, and the money gets bigger, and
it gave me such a perspective on just the world in general, that and being part of the of the local chamber of commerce, right? Between being on a part of the local chamber, and I sat on the government affairs committee for the South Kansas City Chamber of Commerce for a while, and after having done that, like, and then you think it's like, okay, well then you have the Kansas City Chamber of Commerce.
I can imagine that one.
Chamber of Commerce, and then you have the United States Chamber of Commerce, and it's like all of these things operate the same way, just on a grander scale.
I was a member of the Lee Summit Chamber of Commerce for a year.
And I'm actually thinking about joining the Lee Summit Chamber because I could, possibly use the marketing connections, but I haven't done it yet. But
well, if you just want to get rid of $300, just give it to me.
Just give it to you, huh?
Just give it to me, and I will introduce you to the same 5 people that go to all the Chamber of Commerce meetings. And actually, you probably already know most of them. And then a year later, if you want to stay, you can give me another $300
and just keep it going, huh?
Yeah,
just keep it pushing.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And I mean, I did it because I thought it'd be good to go to a lot of the
networking events,
ribbon cuttings and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, there's 5 people from the chamber that go. There's when they did the one for the weed shop, that kind of lost me too. I was kind of like, that's a little odd, but I mean, I don't care.
I felt I made some good connections in the Raytown Chamber and the South Kansas City Chamber. I mean, they're not like friends. I don't talk to them anymore now that I'm not associated with those areas anymore. But, I mean, I thought while I was there, especially for running for office, being in the Raytown Chamber was definitely beneficial to me.
Right.
To run for office. I don't know how much business it ever garnered me for visiting angels when I owned Visiting Angels. I don't know that it ever really garnered much business for me, but it did give me some opportunity to meet some adjacent type industry people, business owners in adjacent industries.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I don't necessarily know that it ever benefited my bottom line, but I didn't find it to be a complete waste because I find building that kind of a network is valuable.
Yeah, it's not. But I know that a lot of times, like I said, when you go to the ribbon cuttings and things like that, it's the same people every time. It's like,
yeah,
hey, why don't we just go to lunch and
$300 in dues?
Yeah.
Like, how about we take one person's $300? There's 5 of us. You buy a really nice lunch, and then the next
Right.
person can do it the next time, and we can do it 5 times a year.
Right.
It'd be a great time. Hell, we could probably rent out a stall at Top Golf or something for that kind of money. Food
Barely.
included. But
Yeah.
that's a good time. I don't know. On the top
Yeah.
that's a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mike,
I'm not
this
dogging.
hour
I'm not
has
dogging the
flown.
Lee Summit Chamber. There, I have a lot of friends there. Well, I don't have a lot of friends, but I had a lot of very
Acquaintances.
people that I know quite a bit.
Acquaintances is the word you're looking for.
Extra, yeah, acquaintances. I know a lot of people there, but I'm just not a big. I get if we have specific. So many. The funny thing is, like, if you look on, because when I looked on this, when I joined the chamber, I looked on their website. Their website has, most chambers have a list of all their members.
Right.
So I was like, wow, look at these 40 million people. Like, I can have access to all these people.
Right.
But then at the end of the day, most of these companies are paying I think it's $400. If you're paying like $400 just to get your name in the directory, and then like they don't show up for anything. So it was like, again, like I met people here at this ribbon cutting, and then we go to another thing, and it's the same people there and the same people there. I was like, you could just go to a ribbon cutting. You don't have to join the chamber. You can just go.
Yeah,
I did that. You just go. I did that. I did that a few times, and then you just go. After I quit, actually, the day I quit, I went to a ribbon cutting, and it was actually kind of funny because the girl's like, "Hey, what are you doing here? You just quit today." I'm like, "Yeah,
it's a public event, maybe.
Throw me out." So I've been kicked out of way nicer places than this before, lady.
Right.
But yeah, so you could do that. You could go to ribbon cuttings and pass out your cards. They have little games they play, or
sure.
drawings.
Yeah. I've been to plenty of ribbon cuttings. I'm well aware of how.
You don't have to be a member. You don't have to be a member to do that.
Yeah, they're public. Hell, I could use them to build content for my site, for my channel. I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can film it, and you can put your cards in the pot. They have drawings all the time for whatever. Mm-hmm. You can meet some stuff, but
it's definitely a way to get out.
Do it.
It's definitely a way to get out and meet people face to face, because I definitely need to have those avenues.
You should have your business cards, like made in like little cruise ships, like cards. Drop them in all those things.
I like my card, and I got to be honest. The more I do these Amtrak vacation quotes, I like doing cruise quotes less.
Yeah,
because these Amtrak quotes are so easy. They are so easy to pump out. But, dude, this hour has flown by. We are almost to the top. So let's go ahead.
You just talk about nothingness, it goes.
Well, we talked about what the hell did we talk about for the last hour?
Ha! Meaningless shit.
There are probably some gems in there somewhere. I don't know where, but I have to go back and listen and see if we can
I'm going to go on Amtrak. I'm going to go on Amtrak vacations right now.
Yeah, go to Amtrak vacations, not Amtrak.
Amtrak, they have one.
Is just the train.
The pictures on there.
The package.
Trains. They're all happy. Look at them all smiling.
Everybody is happy on their Amtrak vacation.
They're so happy.
I got to call a lady who just got back from hers, and she sent me 3 emails while she was on her vacation. So we'll have to see.
Is it all only old white people that go on these vacations?
No.
If you look at it,
I've had a diverse collection.
Not on their website. It's all old white people. You better tell them.
For that. I didn't do the website. That's not me. But Mike Foot with Summit Lending.
Or like, get him off air.
Tell us. I would not be forcing you off the air if we weren't already at the top of the hour.
Right? Cut that whole shit right out.
Right? So
Mike
what do you
Foot.
got going on at Summit Lending, Mike?
Summit Lending, just doing loan broker stuff, mortgage broker stuff.
More mortgages.
Yep, doing some bill consolidation ones right now. People paying
Oh,
off
that's
some of those high interest credit cards.
So have we gotten to a point where people who maybe bought a house 6 months, a year and a half ago, where like rates have come down to that it makes it worth their
Come
time
down? No, they have not come down.
they have not come down to like refinance for? Wow.
There's none of that going on. So
I was just curious. I didn't know if we had gotten to it. 'Cause I know that like the Fed hasn't reduced their rates any, but I also know the Fed doesn't directly
right.
dictate mortgage rates. So I didn't know if market forces could.
No, I mean, honestly, the rates haven't done much of anything in the last, probably at least the last year or so. And
No,
I mean, so you see these real estate agents post on Facebook all the time, and they're like, rates are the lowest they've been in 6 months. It's like, dude, it dipped to 8, and it's like big deal. And people, and then I get calls from people. I just saw the rates went down. Like, no, they didn't.
well, I mean, it
Not for you.
Probably doesn't save you enough money to make it worth the time of going through the process.
No, but they do that, and it's irritating as hell because over on our side, like the internal stuff that we have between each other, it's like, shut up, like stop doing that. They're trying to get people to call them,
right?
Which is retarded because it's like anything else. You get them to call you. Yes, they're going to call you, and they're going to go, "Hey, I just saw your thing that said the rates went down." And you're like, "Yeah," and then you should over my loan officer, and then they call me, and I'm like, "Yeah." That was this morning at opening. It went down, but it's already gone up twice since then. Or or it's not changed any more than it has 6 months ago. Like, and so people are like, oh, I mean, I absolutely can't stand it. I wish they wouldn't do that, but they do it. They're trying to generate,
Trying to generate revenue, activity.
They don't have anything going on. Most 75% of agents don't sell houses.
That is a crazy.
Other than that, everything's fine.
That's good.
Weather's going to get warm here pretty soon, hopefully.
Dude, we finally had a nice weekend of baseball last weekend.
Yeah.
And now this weekend we're going to be back in the 60s and mid.
I have this thing on. Like I thought I put my freaking jacket thing away. I had to go find it all out. I'm like, what the hell?
What a load of crap! It kind of pisses me off. It's like it's Memorial Day weekend, and we're going to be wearing jackets.
Correct.
You need to look into geomagnetic excursion.
Yeah.
Find out about more information about all the crazy weather going on. Might blow your mind. Some would call it a conspiracy theory. I don't think it is. I think we have some changes going on in our system that us lay people just don't quite fully comprehend.
Right.
That's a topic for another day. It's time to wrap up this show. Back down to the last minute of the program. Mike Foot from Summit Lending. I always appreciate you joining me for our Wednesday Business Roundtable. It's kind of just a straight line when it's just 2 points. Me and you makes a straight line, 2 points. Kind of have to have like 3 so you can have a triangle. 4 or 5, you start to round it out and have a circle. So we'll try to get some more people on here next week. So it really is a round table. I'm Eric Tiemann of Livin Life N Style. What's that?
Mine is definitely square. I have rounded so I don't hurt myself, but that's about
it. I have the same. Mine actually, I can push a button. I could stand up and work if I wanted to. I never do. I used to, but
I got that too.
My cables on my monitors and unplugged them sometimes, so I don't bother with it. But anyway,
give me a ring after this.
All right, we'll do.
On a non-recorded line.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, a secure line.
Non-secure line.
Non-secured line. All right, very well. We will do that, and you have a great week. I will talk to you in a few minutes, and everybody, please like and subscribe to the channel, and say bye to Mike. Join us next week for the Avoya Top 10 Travel Deals of the Week on Monday and the Business Roundtable on Wednesday. Be good out there, everybody.